morning. Good morning. Am I there? Are we good? All right. Good morning, kids. If you're not already back, it seems like you are. Now is the time. First of all, I just want to say how stoked I am to be speaking on Revelation. I have a prediction to make tonight. I just want to say that just for the elders to sweat just for a second. I like to get them sweat thinking that I'm going to make a prediction. But really, my name is Jacob Lemons. And, you know, everybody gets up here, always has a title. I'm Shay, I do work with the children. I'm Jordan, I'm this. I'm Dave, I'm the elder. I'm Jacob. Hey, I'm Jordan's husband, I guess is my title. So I don't really know how to introduce myself. I am an assistant principal over at Jefferson Middle School, so I have a middle school mentality sometimes. Some of my jokes may be on that level, so you're welcome, middle schoolers. You may get me a little bit more than some of the adults, and that's fine. We'll have a lot of fun today talking about this. But in all seriousness, this has been a very hard sermon for me to prep for. Usually when I get this opportunity, Tony, we're going through a book, and he's like, hey, you're in Luke 5, verse 2. Go deep in that. And I'm like, okay, I got that. His assignment this time was, hey, we're doing Revelation, and I want you to talk about some theme in Revelation. Okay, I'm not really sure. So I usually have the weird way of prepping anyways, is I have the sermon in my head for weeks. And then I write it down. But this one was really tough for me because I had themes and thoughts, and I mean everywhere it's probably been a month now. So for me to like narrow it down to one theme was almost impossible. So really today's sermon is going to be called "The End Is Near: Reflections from Jacob Lemons on the End Times." That's really what I got. It sounds like a pretty cool book title in my opinion. But in just case you haven't met me or listen to me preach, I bounce, okay? I'm a little ADD, so you got to kind of track with me. Some of y'all like that. Some of y'all are just, you're just ready for Elzazons here in a minute. That's fine. But I'm going to be everywhere. I'm going to be excited. I'm going to talk fast, and we're going to have a good time. So before I get started, I do want to just kind of give you my background on Revelation. I think this is going to be important for you to understand my relationship with the book of Revelation. And so I'm going to kind of put my cards on the table. And something I have realized in prepping for this is we 80s/90s children, we have some trauma to talk about. Every sermon I've listened to, you all are freaked out by charts, okay? And every one I listen to tonight, we're not going to bring out charts. Like a surgeon, like the Surgeon General warning, right? Like, there's not going to be charts. You're going to be okay. All right, and I don't know what that is, but just for you young people who are like, what are they talking about charts? I'm going to pull one up, okay? So be careful, all right? We're going to pull one up. Carter, can you pull up one of these charts? Okay, so back when we were growing up and you had Revelation, a preacher would get up or somebody, and they would go through this timeline chart thing, and you're like, dear God, what is happening here, okay? And so that's what that is for you young people. And this is how we, from the 80s and 90s, this is how we were raised in Revelation, right? We had a whole book series called Left Behind. Kirk Cameron comes out with Left Behind, and we were ready for the end times. We didn't know what the heck we were for. But now, what I've learned is that we've completely done a pendulum shift, right? Like now all the churches, all the preachers I listen to are kind of like, yeah, guess what? That's not what it was about at all. Don't bring out the charts and everything like that. So I'm fully convinced the end time is near because we're not predicted anymore, right? Can I get an amen on that? So I am fully convinced that the end time's near. We've given up on predicting it, and now we're like, now's the time. And so I say all that to say, where you all have trauma, I loved this stuff. Okay, I'm sad we don't have it. I love a good timeline, a good conspiracy theory, okay? I love conspiracy theories. I don't believe in any of them, okay? I think they're all hocus pocus. I think Oswald killed JFK. The world is round. 9/11 was not an inside job. Bigfoot's not real, and there's no way there's aliens. But I will listen to you talk all day. I love it, okay? So I say that to say that if you feel left out by the church, saying, you know, if you have a binder or overhead projector slide somewhere of your Revelation theories, I'm your guy. Let's go to lunch, okay? Don't hide those things. I want to hear all the conspiracy theories. I want to hear all those things. Matter of fact, I loved it so much that when I taught, after we did state testing, because that's the most important thing in the educational world, after we did state testing, I do a whole conspiracy theory unit. Okay, and so I do the big ones, JFK and all these things, and I would just debunk all of them. I just end kids' dreams and hopes of this bigger, the Illuminati and all that. I just crush it, right? I had a whole PowerPoints and everything. I loved crushing conspiracy theories. And then at the end, I would have them bring me any conspiracy theory. I've watched stupid DVDs, YouTube video links of kids, and then I'd bring that YouTube video and I'd say, watch this, let me tell you why this guy's an idiot. And then I just break it. I loved doing that. I love listening to Joe Rogan podcast. He's got those crazy people on there talking about stuff. I love listening to those things, okay? When I was growing up, Unsolved Mysteries. Anybody Unsolved Mysteries? Heck yes. All right, loved Unsolved Mysteries. The intro scared the living snot out of me, but by gosh, I loved Unsolved Mysteries. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And so you can imagine that as growing up, the book of Revelation was kind of a conspiracy theory for me, right? Like I was like, man, we've got to figure this thing out. There's a codex in this thing, and we're going to figure it out. So some of my greatest Bible conversations with my dad was him telling me about things that possibly could be in the book of Revelation. I loved it. Still today, when the moon turns red, I'm a little bit like, here it is. All right, like, it's happening. I remember this part. Okay, I remember him telling me about this one verse right here. I'm going to read it real quick. The shape of locusts was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns of something like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. And they had breastplates like breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots with many horses running into battle. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. Their power had to hurt men for 5 months. Now, I have no doubt. Carter, show me. Let's pull the slide up here. This is what this was. This is an Apache helicopter, baby. That was it. All right. I mean, you read that, and you can't tell me that that's not an Apache helicopter. Okay. And I also put this slide on because I wanted to kind of angle myself right with the YouTube video here. Get that cool helicopter in the back and the fire, and that's going to be the thumbprint for this video. I'm really excited about it. You got me hooked up, Seth. All right. And you read stuff like this now, and I want to say this as a caveat. I love talking to my dad, but I think everybody's got this uncle, right? Oh, I had this uncle, okay? And my Uncle Stan, let me tell you, he was next level revelation, right? Like he would bring in UFOs, and he'd bring in demons, and he would bring in all this scripture, and I mean, the necks on my hair would stand up. I'm like, oh my gosh, Uncle Stan has this kind of figured out. And I'm like, whoa, and it freaked me out, right? And the best part about Uncle Stan, he'd go 30 minutes on a rant about something about Revelation or conspiracy or whatever, and then at the end, he always had this tagline, and it was a great tagline. He'd look at me and he goes, now look, I don't know, but I'm just saying. And then that's how he ended it, and you're like, and so he always left himself a little room for error, and it was always great. So I would say that much of my life, I thought Revelation was the coolest. Okay, it was provocative, it was rebellious, and this is not necessarily something to be proud of, but I remember when they would talk about the rapture, I'd be kind of like, I kind of want to see a dragon. Right? Is there like a second wave of rapture that I can see some of the stuff? This is pretty cool stuff, man. This is pretty historic, right? Do I really have to get raptured the first wave? Can maybe God just let me stay for a little while, and then maybe I have a beam me up Scotty rapture thing? Okay, this is getting pretty crazy. Let's go. I've seen the dragon. I'm out. So that's literally my perspective. Whereas most of the 90 kids obviously were traumatized. After studying this, I was kind of fully embracing this, and I loved it. And that, like I said, that was my approach for this book. Now, as I got older and maybe wiser, I went and talked to another uncle, my Uncle Pete. Okay, a lot of y'all know Pete, and over at Renovatus, get a little plug in for Renovatus there. And my Uncle Pete, I was, still curious. Like I said, I want to hear what people thought about Revelation, everything like that. And so I asked Uncle Pete, I said, hey, what's your view on the end times? What's going to happen? And if you know Pete, he kind of leans in. Well, Jacob, I figure the first time Jesus came, everybody seemed to miss why he was here. So why we think we know it the second time? Blew my mind. Right? Like it completely changed my view on Revelation. I was, holy cow, he's right. Like the disciples were with Jesus, and he was like, hey, I'm going to die and raise in 3 days. And then he dies, and they're like, what happened? Right? Like they missed it. They completely missed it. They were sitting with him, eating with him, drinking with him every day, and they missed it. So why in the world did I think I had the audacity to think that I'm going to know the second time that he comes? Like it really messed me up. And then as I started teaching history classes and things like that, I started to look at things. And one of the ones that really kind of messed with me was, did you know in World War II, okay, so if you study FDR and you study Adolf Hitler and their rise to power, I mean, it's almost parallel, right? Like they're coming up at the same time, gaining power, becoming the leader of their country, okay? So when FDR becomes president, he creates something called the New Deal, right? And the New Deal is extremely radical, right? Like the government had never been doing these things before like that. So you have FDR doing the New Deal. You have Hitler doing his thing, okay? And there was a huge movement in America that was saying that FDR was the Antichrist. Like, how bad do we stink as a people to be able to look at FDR and Hitler and think, it's got to be the FDR guy. Yeah, it can't be Hitler. Let's look at it. And if I have a slide, we had something called the NRA, not that NRA. God bless America on that. This is called the National Recovery Act, and this was the mark of the beast. Like, people thought that was the mark of the beast. They had it. What would happen here is you would kind of buy into the government program, and you would hang this in your storefront saying that you're part of the National Recovery Act. So people saw this as the mark of the beast. You weren't be able to buy or sell things unless you got this thing. And they had this whole conspiracy theory. The lightning bolts were something, and the wheel was something, and the wing tips were something. Somehow that symbol, I can't remember, it's been a long time. Somehow that symbol was the 666, mark of the beast. Okay, so I started studying these things. Well, obviously, Revelation is pretty irrelevant because we're not going to figure it out. Like, John did this just to mess with us. He found some mushrooms on Patmos somewhere, and this is what happened, right? So I literally, for the last 20 years, 15, 20 years, I've kind of just given up on the book of Revelation. Okay, like, I haven't thought about it. And that's probably not good marketing considering that I'm about to preach on Revelation, but that's where I've been. So I went from being super into it to being, who knows, who cares, it doesn't matter. All right, so when Tony announced that we were doing Revelation, I was pretty excited because I'm like, I haven't really thought about this. I'm interested to see what he says and what he thinks. And then he asked me to preach on it, and I was like, that's funny, because I don't know what any of this stuff means, and I don't know what I'm going to be preaching on. And so I think this sermon kind of gets boiled down to, that's like a really long intro, I know. And so I think this sermon gets boiled down to why it's kind of my point of view. What has shifted in my mindset since we've started Revelation is kind of where I've landed for this sermon. And so I have 2 points, one major point on where we're going today, okay? So my first point, the thing that I've learned from this is the book of Revelation is not written to us, but it's written for us. Okay, so think about that for a second. Keep that in your head. The book of Revelation is not written to us, but it's written for us. Okay, now, an example I have of this is most of us played sports at some point in our life, right? And during practice, you would do a drill, okay, whether it's layups, ground balls, whatever it is. And during the drill, usually how it works is you get in a line, right? So you get in a line, you got all these people lined up, and the person in front of the line, they get the ground ball, right? And I learned early on that if you were second, third in line, that you could watch the other people catch the ground ball and then learn what they did wrong or what they did right? The coach would be like, hey, that was a great job throwing to second. Hey, you're supposed to throw to third there. So then I'd kind of put it in my Rolodex. By the time I got up to the line, I knew I don't need to make the same mistakes there. I think that's kind of what's happening here, right? Like John wrote this book to certain people, real people, certain churches, right? Like he wasn't, think of how cruel it would be for him to be like, hey, here's this codex for people 2,000 years later. Good luck, Okay? Like, that seems kind of messed up, right? Especially when you consider that that church was being persecuted like no church had been persecuted, right? Like, think about that. So these people are dying every day. Okay, they're getting beat out in the street. They're being burned at the stake, and all these things. And then John's like, "Hey, here's a codex for people later on." Geez, thanks, John. That's awesome. Like, that'd have been pretty cruel, right? So that was a big mind shift for me to think that John's had an audience that he was writing to, and I think it's important that we look at that. History teacher here. So let's kind of look into that history a little bit and home in on this thought of the book of Revelation was written, not written for that it was not written to us, but for us. So John, this was about, like, give or take 2,000 years ago. Their tradition says John was probably 80 to 90 years old when he went to Patmos. Okay, so he's old, and I mean, he's old like today. Back then, it would have been really old. Okay, and if you're 80, 90, I'm sorry, you're just seasoned. Okay, you're good. So he gets exiled to Patmos. I couldn't find any real big details on exactly why, but it's probably persecution and things like that. So he gets sent to Patmos. I've been to Patmos. It is if I'm going to get exiled anywhere, it's not a bad place to go. Okay, it's beautiful. You can see there the cave that he traditionally writes it in. I think it's the next slide. I don't know if we have it. Anyways, there's a cave, and this cave, of course, they got all the stuff in it now, it's a holy place. But what was really cool about the cave, what really struck me, is that there's a big crack right down the middle of it. And so the tradition says that in that cave, there wasn't a crack, and then the revelation happened, and there was a crack in the cave. I don't know if that's, but it was kind of cool to be in a place to think that could have happened. It was a pretty cool experience to be able to go to Patmos. So he gets exiled to Patmos. He's 80 to 90 years old. The church is, getting just absolutely wrecked by the Roman government. Okay, I don't know. Maybe there's a worse time, but I don't know if there's a worse time of persecution in the church. They're getting absolutely wrecked. I mean, you got to think, all the disciples are dead, and like we can't even imagine. I mean, can you imagine like the government taking out John Piper and killing him on television and like that? That's so just unreal to us. But like Timothy, Paul, Peter, all these guys are drugged and killed publicly. So, you got to think that they are really, like, these people are really thinking about the end. Like, well, when is the end? Is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be today? John is really thinking about the end. He's 80 years old, right? So in his mind, he's got to be thinking about end times for sure. So after listening to Tony's sermon and some other sermons, I've decided that John's intent here was to encourage the church to keep going, to keep fighting, to survive, right? Like this is a book of encouragement to keep the faith in the extreme persecution. So I thought, so if these symbols aren't like, if I'm not supposed to decipher these symbols, why is he writing? Like I said, he's finding some mushrooms on Patmos. Like, what happened here? And what I've come to realize, and what I studying this, is like these people would have understood this. Like they would have read this book, and they would have been like, "Hey, I get this." They knew what the dragon was. They knew what 666 meant. They knew the symbol, because like they don't write like we Westerners. We're very linear, right? We read from left to right. Okay, we don't want a lot of symbolism. We want to tell me how it is, tell me what's going on, blah, blah, blah. We're very black and white. And John obviously was not, right? Like you read all his books. They're all little, okay? And but these people would have absolutely known what was written. You say, well, there's no way, Jacob. There's no way that they read this and they were like, oh, yeah, I get this, okay? So I'm going to do a little thing, okay? We're going to do a little activity. This is my education side in me, okay? So we're going to do a little activity. I want you to close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. I'm going to read this and see if you can just think of what's happening here. So I'm going to read this, and you try to tell me what's happening. And behold, a figure arose amidst the throng, clad of the garb of the storied frontiersman. His head was crowned with a coonskin cap, and his image bore the strength of one who had traversed the wilds. With a multitude clad in garments of orange and white, he stood as a beacon of spirit, exclaiming with a voice that thundered like the roar of a mighty river, V-O-L-S. All right? Like, you all, I'm going to guess that most of y'all know what's going on here. Show the picture, Carter. You got the picture? That's what's going on, right? If you've ever been to a Tennessee event, you know that Davy Crockett is yelling V-O-L-S. Now, if I take that sentence and I take it to China, they're going, what in the world? He's got a raccoon on his head. He's yelling V-O. It's not going to make any sense to them. But for us here in East Tennessee, we knew what was going on, most of us. Does that make sense? So for the people who got this letter, I imagine it was a lot like that. Like, they knew what was going on. Now, obviously, he's very artistic. He's very symbolic. But they had a general idea of what he was talking about. And that's really changed my perspective on things, on where we're going. And so, not only that, not only do they understand, so what he's doing is like Tony mentioned in his first sermon on Revelation. You know, Tony's driving through the tunnel and they see these windows of the beautiful mountains and things like that. Like, John is trying to reveal that there are layers to what's happening here, right? Like yes, you see what's in front of you. Okay, all your friends are dying. You're scared to death. It's got to be tough. I see it. There's things at work here that you don't understand. There's things at work that are happening that you need to see. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of what's happening. There's a spiritual battle. There's the unseen that's happening, guys. So keep strong. Be encouraged. Because God's got this. A perfect example is, and I'm on a little soapbox here, is schools, right? Soapbox. Like, everybody has an opinion on schools, but most of you all have these strong opinions. Your only perspective is what? Being a student. Like, your 16-year-old self, being in high school, you have this perspective on how public education works, okay? So then I go into being an actual teacher, and I have a different perspective, okay? Then I jump from teacher to administrator, and I see there's all kinds of layers that's going on into a school that I never understood as a student. So what God is trying to show these people, like there's things going on here. I see your perspective is small right now, and I get it. But there's a battle being fought here. There's a spiritual war being fought. And guess what? We've won. Right? Like, that's kind of what he's shown in Revelation. There's things, not only have we won, he even goes back in time. The dragon that I keep talking about. A lot of people think the dragon is actually the nativity scene, which would be an awesome nativity scene, and I'm going to convince Jordan by December to have a dragon in our nativity scene. I'm working on it, okay? I'm working on it hard. But the symbolism there is, it's talking about a male being born, and the dragon wants to eat it, and the dragon wants to kill it. What he's showing there is that battle's been waging. That battle's been happening, and even says the dragon, it's the same as the serpent. Since Adam and Eve, like, this battle has been going on, guys, and guess what? We win it, right? This isn't anything new to God. I know it's hard for you now, all right? You're being persecuted. It's tough, but we're going to win this battle. This is nothing new. There's nothing new in the book of Revelation. That completely changed my perspective, to think that there's nothing new in the book of Revelation. Well, that sounded weird. Well, you know what's crazy? The book of Revelation quotes the New Testament more than any book, or quotes the Old Testament more than any book in the New Testament. Did y'all know that? Like, this is just stuff. This is just a reminder. All right, this is just a reminder of, hey, keep the fight up. Let's keep working. Let's keep doing this. So once I had that perspective and I saw that and I see this in my studies, I'm like, oh, well, obviously I missed the point. Right? Like, this whole time, I've missed the point. This was the ground ball. Right? If we go back to our reference, this was the ground ball. He's hitting it to them. The ground ball is, we're going to, this battle's been raging. This battle's going to rage. All right? And that's another thing that messed me up. This when I hear when we talk about the Antichrist and 666 and the mark of the beast, and Tony kind of talked about this, but at the end of the day, I think what John's trying to say there is, hey, this is the world. This is the broken, sinful world. You're going to have Antichrist. You're going to have marks of the beast. This stuff isn't new, and this stuff's going to keep rolling, right? Like, that's why we get it so wrong. But that's why we have all these predictions that Hitler's the Antichrist, that Putin's the Antichrist, because he's always going to be there. He's always been there. I don't know if it's a singular person now. Maybe it is. I don't know. Little Uncle Stanley there. I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, we're in a broken world, and these things are going to happen. Who's been alive that there hasn't been rumors of war? Maybe like for 3 years there in the 90s, right? And then Clinton decided to bomb something. Like there's always rumors of war. There's always famine. There's always natural disasters. You're in a broken world. This isn't anything new, guys. But we got to keep fighting. We got to keep rolling. I got this little motivational thing. If I'm translating this today to get me pumped up, this is what I imagine John would say. Warriors of the faith, you are fighting a battle that's already been won. This is not the time to retreat. It's the moment to rise up with boldness and courage. Let us march forward in unwavering faith, united in purpose. Together we will proclaim the victory of Christ. Let's go! Right? Like that's what he's doing here. And we lose that, man. It's so cool. It's so much cooler than try to decipher what's going to happen in 20 years and May 21st, blah, 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 blah. Like, whoa. Right? Like, even in the face of extreme persecution, let's go. You can't beat our God. We've won this thing. Gets me pretty pumped up. Gets me pretty excited. Now, what's even crazier? That's point one. What's even crazier, that the same Roman government that was persecuting the early church, so the same government that's taking these people, burning them at the stake, crucifying them, and all those things, that same government, did y'all know 300 years later they're going to claim Christ? Whoa. 300 years is not that long. 300 years later, that church or that government is going to be one of the major players in why we're here today talking about Christianity. Without Rome, why in the world would we know about Christianity in Jefferson City, Tennessee, 2,000 years later? Right? Like God used those people. Imagine if 300 years we went back in time, we're like, hey, guess what, guys? You know these people that are killing you? Actually, we really need them. So keep fighting. What? You know what I mean? Like even in Jesus' the disciples stuff, they wanted to overthrow Rome. Like they never thought that Rome was going to be used to deliver the good news. That's how God works, right? It's pretty cool. Think about that. And the coolest thing about that, like even when we talk about, it's pretty cool that Rome was used for that. John was never even talking about that. His victory was the heavenly victory, right? Which is even cooler than Rome using the gospel. So that's awesome to think about that he was using all this, and then that John has a bigger victory in play. So that's point one. Point two, the end is near. Okay? The end is near. Now, so what's the ground ball to us? So we watch them catch the ground ball. They're supposed to be strong in their faith and extreme of persecution. How does that work for us? What can we learn? We're up in the line, right? We're up, and what do we learn? Now, I'm getting to the age where endings are becoming more common, right? Like I'm 38 years old, I think. Double check. Yes, 38. I will be 39 very soon. Okay, and I'm officially there. I'm at mid-age. I'm middle-aged. Okay, so I guess I'm venting a midlife crisis here for a second. Okay, things are ending rapidly sometimes, right? Like there are things. I'm at a point where I'm starting to realize that my 20-year high school reunion is this year. Okay, I'm halfway to retirement. I was watching Bill Burr the other day. Y'all are really going to judge me. I'm putting Joe Rogan and Bill Burr. Not good. So Bill Burr has this stand-up right now. It's called I'm at the drop dead age. Right? And basically his whole thing is, hey, there's an age to where you get that like you can drop dead at any moment. Like there's no warning. You're on the golf course. Done. Right? And he gave an age for that, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm really close to drop dead age, you know, like I'm not going to give you all that age because just in case some of y'all are there, but I don't want to freak you out, but like I'm getting really close to dropping dead at any moment and being like, hey, did you hear about Jacob? You know, like, you hear that? Like, and I've heard that my whole life, like the saying of, he's dead before he hit the floor. Woo! Right? Like I'm there, okay? Things are ending really fast, all right? Think about it. Like, when you were a kid, if you're a 90s kid, did you ever think that Toys R Us would be gone? Toys R Us, the most magical place in the world, is gone. Right? I mean, it's horrible. Have y'all seen the viral picture going around the McDonald's play place? All right, where it's 2 chairs and a screen. Do y'all remember? Hey, look at our play place. Look at that. It's gone. Our childhood is gone. Big Lots has got finally out of sale. It's gone. Like, I'm there. Things are ending really fast. I mean, even preaching reminds me of how things end. All right, first time I preached, I had both my grandparents. I had Jordan's mom. I had Jordan's grandmother. Right? Today, they're not here. Okay? Things end rapidly. Things are fast. Life happens before you even know it. Reminds me of The Office. So I got Joe Rogan, I got Bill Burr. Reminds me of The Office, last episode. Andy Bernard, he says, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old times before they actually left. Like, think about that. Like, I remember watching that the first time, and that hit pretty hard. Like, man, how do you know that you're not in the good times right now? Because we're always looking, like, it's our nature to look toward the future and things like that, but you may be in the good times right now. And the quote that gets me all the time, growing up, I actually got to live Sandlot. If y'all have seen the movie Sandlot, I got to live it. My neighbors, we all would go play baseball every day. We had a Rottweiler across the fence that we would pickle all the time. We lived it, right? Like, I was there. Literally, our best player was named Benny. Benny the Jet. That's what we called him. That was like, I'm as close to living Sandlot as you ever lived. And I think every once in a while, this little meme pops up on Facebook, says, there was one day that was the last time you ever played with your friends. Right? We didn't know it. Right? Like, we didn't know that was going to be the last time we ever played, but it was. And I played college baseball, I played high school baseball, I played all these baseballs. You know what game I'd go play again? Sandlot. I'd go back with those guys. That was awesome, right? Like it just ended one day, and we had no idea. So, what's the application? The end is won. We've won, right? Like, why are we worried about so many things? God has revealed the end. It's better than anything we can imagine. And I don't really need to, I get so caught up on all my plans and things like that. And do you really think that the churches read Revelation for the first time and thought, well, God's going to use this? I'm like, God's going to use that the Roman government. And so I ran into a quote from another preacher that I think kind of perfectly sums up this here. Don't occupy yourself with the future establishment of the kingdom of heaven while neglecting the present advancement of it in your life. So let me read that one more time. Don't occupy yourself with the future establishment of the kingdom of heaven while neglecting the present advancement of it in your life. God, that hit me hard, guys. That hit me hard. Like, we're so worried about the future. We're so worried about what's going to happen here and there and all this that we neglect what's happening now. What's happening now could end tomorrow. Could end when we walk out of here. We don't know. Right? So the end is near. And this is once I started thinking about it, this is scattered throughout the Bible. Matthew 6:25. Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and body more than clothing? James 4:14. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is life? For you are the mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, a time for every matter under heaven, a time to born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up and what is planted. Some of y'all had a song in your head right there. I definitely did. Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts. Luke 12:16-21, and he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God told him, Fool! Like, y'all think about endings? Like, one day, my marriage is going to end. One of us is going to die. Like, I need to be working on that every day, because I don't know when it's going to be over. My kids are going to grow up. They're going to go off. They're, you know, like, I need to be spending time with my kids. But, you know, our calling is to work. Our calling is to be in the present. Our calling is to do the Lord's work now, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. I think this is why they were so amped up, right? They knew that the end, I mean, they were seeing it every day. They were seeing their friends die every day. They knew the end was near. Whether it was Jesus coming back or being dead tomorrow, they knew that the end was near. So, like, think about this. Think about this as a barn. Okay, think about your Christian life right now. Think about it as a barn. Okay, what's the use of a clean barn? Now, if you have a clean barn, is there really any purpose in it? Barns should be dirty. There's not a lot of living things in a clean barn, right? So if you have a barn and there's living things, then there's obviously going to be stuff in it, right? And there's going to be dirt, and you've got sawdust and things like that. That's what a barn's made for, right? A barn is made to be used. Think about that in your Christian walk. Is your barn dirty? Is it clean? Is it easy? Is it hard? Now, I always get a little humor when I hear people talk about, oh, we need to be like the early church. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I bet you would, okay? I mean, because what Christianity should look like Brian was talking about last week, what Christianity should look like is like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, right? Like what Christian world, when we look at the early church, what does that look like? Let's dress up and go nice to church. It should be mortars being bombed all around you, machine gun fire. It should be messy. And that should be encouraging to you, right? Because sometimes life is messy, and we should be walking with people when life is messy. Life is tough. Things are hard. Christianity is hard. So, yeah, okay, you want the early church? Let me take a couple of y'all out here and beat the snot out of you in the back alley and see how many of y'all show up next week. Right? I promise you won't. Like, we couldn't handle masks and COVID. You know? Like, come on. Really? You want the early church? Okay. I'm calling your shenanigans on that. And I'm going to lean in here a little bit, friends, family. All right? I'm not the pastor. You can't fire me. I'm going to lean in a little bit. If you want to be like the early church, why Shay up here all the time begging for volunteers to go help with the kids? For 30 minutes a month? 30 minutes a month? You want the early church and you can't handle snot? Come on. Right? We have 4 openings too, by the way, right now in the church. Right? 4. You want the early church? There shouldn't be any openings back there. Right? Why are we under budget? Why are we not giving like we should? You want the early church? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to give, right? We need to be Saving Private Ryan. We should be giving. You want the early church? We're begging for drummers. You want the early church? You can't come on Fridays and pack boxes. You can't go to Renovatus and help out. You want the early church? Come on. Don't say that. Like, how awkward are we when we clap after worship? You want the early church and you can't clap? You can't get excited to hear songs? You can't be in the moment and worship God because you're afraid of being too awkward to people? You can't do all that? Every couple weeks, Dave has to get up and he has to beg people to come pray collaboratively. Joel gets up and pray collaboratively. We can't pray, and you want the early church? Now, I know what Dave's saying right now. He's looking at me and saying, how many times you been there, Jacob? Now I'm going to be dead honest. It's a huge conviction of mine, and I'm going to be very vulnerable here. My excuse for not going to church or not going to prayer, oh, my kids. Jordan helps with the youth, and I got to watch my kids. What better thing to have my boys see me praying with other believers? What a stupid excuse. Sorry, Dave. Right? Like, what excuse? What's that excuse for you? It's stupid, I promise you. Can you imagine if I went up to the church of Ephesus and some of those guys was like, hey, I'm afraid that prayer's going to be awkward, okay? So that's truly why I'm not my excuse, and I say my kids, but in all honesty, I don't want it to be awkward. And that's my excuse. And I've said I want to be like the church of Acts. Yeah, okay. So we have to be in the moment. We have to stop using our excuses. If we can't survive awkwardness, then how can we say that we're going to be like the early church who was being killed daily? You know, they believed the end was near, and they didn't take today for granted because they knew tomorrow might not come. What's your Christian walk like? What's your excuses? How, if you have a truck, shouldn't you have some mud on the tires? Are you getting mud on your Christian walk? Is it messy? Are you walking alongside people? Or are you making excuses all the time? So I really encourage, Jesus describes as a lukewarm Christian. He's going to spit you out. Don't just be here to watch the music. Don't just be here to be entertained. Do something. Anything. Wipe snot off the kid. Right? It's not too hard. We've got it easier than any Christian ever has today. Right? Like you can find something. Probably whatever's in your heart right now is probably the thing God wants you to do. Do it. Just do it. You don't have to be good at it. They got me up here. Right? Just got to do it. So go help the kids. Play the instrument. Feed the neighbor. Talk to the coworker. Take the risk. Pack the boxes. Are you going to screw up? Absolutely. Will people hurt you? No doubt. Will it be awkward? Absolutely. I got one more quote from The Office. Last episode. This is Pam. If you don't know Pam, she works the front desk most of it, and this is her final quote. It says, "I didn't watch the whole documentary. After a few episodes, it was too painful. I kept wanting to scream at Pam. It took me so long to do so many important things. It's just hard to accept that. I spent so many years being less happy than I could have been. Jim was 5 feet from my desk, and it took me 4 years to get to him. It would be great if people saw this documentary and learned from my mistakes. Not that I'm a tragic person. I'm really happy now. But it would just make my heart sore if someone out there saw this and she said to herself, be strong. Trust yourself. Love yourself. Conquer your fears. Just go after what you want and act fast because life just isn't that long." Now you change a couple of things there. Jesus to Jim. Right? Follow his understanding, things like that. That pretty much wraps up what I'm trying to say here. Okay? That thing, your Christian walk, it's right there. If you're listening, it's right there. You've got to take the step. Right? Like it's 4 feet from you, and you've got to take the step. If we ever want to thrive here at Providence, and we really want to spread the word, we got to get better at the little things. Right? Me included. So I say all this with a heavy heart that I want to see the word spread. I want us to know. I want us to walk together in the faith. What's lesson have we learned? It's right there. You just got to go. You just got to walk to it. You got to go to Jesus, and you got to do that thing. Whatever that thing is, just do it. So I'm going to leave off with this. Fight the battle that's already won. It's already won. Go fight it. You can't lose. You literally can't lose. Go fight the battle that's already won. The end is coming soon. Let's go fight the good fight. Let's go. Let's pray. Father, I thank you so much for this church. I thank you so much for these people. And I pray that we're fighting the good fight, that it looks messy, that we got bombs all around us. We've got work that has been done, that we're not just lukewarm, that when people see us at work, they see something is weird with that guy. He is on fire. He's living in the moment. He's not waiting for tomorrow to get the thing done. And I pray for anybody that's questioning whether they should do the thing. Give them courage to do it. The fight's won. They can handle it. Thank you, God. Thank you for revealing that to us in Revelation. Thank you that you've given us the end. And thank you that we know what happens. And that should encourage us, and we should be on fire. We should be like the early church, because we're not facing anything that they faced. I hope everybody walks out of here a little different today. I hope they do the thing, they fight the fight, and they realize they'll never regret it. That the good old days will be serving you. Pray all this in your name. Amen.